Welcome, everyone. I'm Kimberly Boschman, and this is the Intentionally Intuitive Podcast. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the numerology and the energy for the upcoming full moon that's occurring July 13th or 14th, depending on where you live within the world. Before we get into that reading, I just want to mention that this is, of course, a general forecast, a general reading. If you would like a personalized reading, which will be a much deeper dive into your own personal numerology, please book some time with me. I would love to work with you. My information is in the description box below. Please like, comment, and share. I absolutely appreciate and love hearing from you all. Your support has been so kind, so loving, so appreciated. And it helps to really bring even more awareness to numerology, and it helps to grow my little channel. And I just absolutely appreciate each and every one of you. I see you. I appreciate you. Thank you. Okay, so we are, of course, going to look at both the collective numerology and energy, as well as for each individual life path number. So before we get into that, I did pull an animal spirit message for this illumination, and we got seahorse energy. And so seahorse's message is all about composure and serenity. And I think this is this is very, very fitting for the energies that we may see during this illumination that may come up, which I'll talk about, of course. But one thing I just want you to keep in mind is if things become challenging with this energy, because there is a lot of transformative energy that's going to be sort of highlighted and it's sort of swirling about. If things feel a little bit challenging as you move through some of those transformations, just remember seahorse energy. If you've ever watched a seahorse, and you can sometimes see them like in aquariums and that sort of thing, they're so peaceful. They're so calm. There's just this very tranquil energy about them. And you can see all their little fins, I guess, moving, and they just seem to just be they're just floating. It's like they're floating in outer space, but there's just this tranquility to them. And it honestly just brings so much peace to, it's almost like you can feel that energy and it absorbs into your own environment, if that makes sense. So I think it's going to just be important to remember that we are not responsible for the harmony or the peace of others. We are responsible for our own harmony and peace. And so whatever we need to do to keep coming back to that center, especially if things are, if we're going through some kind of chaos or turmoil, it's up to us to find that serenity. It's up to us to find that composure. And so I think Seahorse is just reminding us that it is possible, even when you're, floating in a current, right? Or going through an uphill battle, you can find your own peace and tranquility through that experience. You'll still have to overcome whatever it is, but it will help you to move into and get into the flow. So beautiful energy there. I think it's really helpful, like I said, as we move through the energies of this illumination. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at sort of the overall numerology forecast for the collective. Okay, so the energies that I want to focus on for this illumination are that of the 8, the 13-4, the 9, and the 5. So I think this is going to be an interesting mixing pot of energy, to be honest. I get this sense of sort of like push-pull energy, but also very complementary energy. So it's an interesting sort of dichotomy and synergy happening here, that we may feel this and sort of need to figure out how to best work with these vibrations to make them work for us and the good of all. So again, we go back to seahorse spirit, right? Figuring out how to go with the flow, surrender, but then also do our part and take action where needed. It's an interesting energy. Like I said, I definitely feel like, especially collectively on sort of a bigger stage, we're going to see sort of this push-pull energy come out. I think it's already here, but I think it's going to be sort of highlighted even more with this illumination. So right out of the gate, I am drawn towards the energy of the 8. And with this, I'm seeing potential or increased power struggles, concerns of dominance or control, which seems to have, well, it seems to be a reoccurring theme for, thousands of years. but definitely in the last few years, we've seen sort of an increase with that. And we're definitely seeing that in certain places throughout the world at the moment. And so there really is sort of this need to put an effort in to find a way to balance that energy. So anything that surfaces or is initiated now will be working under the influence of the 4. So think of very slow progress, right? A lot of effort and determination and perseverance. So the 4 energy will tear down to rebuild. And also this is 13-4 energy. So this is very like Plutonian energy. This is like tower energy as well. It's going to dismantle what it needs to dismantle so that we can rebuild where we need to rebuild. But that takes time. And again, perseverance. So if a shift in power or control needs to happen, it can very well happen, but only with the sort of dismantling of the old in order to put in place something much more sustainable with much more sort of far-reaching solutions. So it can sometimes feel like the 4 is working against us, but it's only asking us to be very discerning when it comes to where we invest our time, our energy, and our resources. So both the 8 and the 4 are very, very ambitious energies. The 8 sees the vast, bigger picture, and the 4 is the master of the details. So together, these energies can accomplish great things, but they have to work together without one energy being more dominant than the other. So finances could easily come into focus now, including physical resources, land, food, money, goods. Because the 4 is just as prominent here as the 8, that tells me that there needs to be some kind of restructuring in order to build something much more sustainable that works better than the previous systems. So again, I expect we may see some reorganization, some big shifts, disruptions, and dismantling in order to build something better that works for the greater good rather than the good of just a few. And the fact that it's 13-4 energy that we're working with, again, it could sort of have this more Plutonian feel, which is sort of like, I don't want to say chaos, but it just makes me think of like Pluto or Mars energy, right? It's like, well, really Pluto energy where it's like going to get in there. It's going to, dismantle what it needs to dismantle, break down any barriers it needs to break down in order to gain a greater perspective and then build something much better. But in that process can feel very uncomfortable, can feel very disorienting. So again, we just want to think of seahorse energy and find our peace and calm through that chaos, right? Because that chaos is necessary, or again, that dismantling, right, is necessary to not only gain a greater and better, broader perspective, but to build something that's just more evolved, right? And to put in place systems that are much more evolved. So I make reference towards the good of all because we also have very prominent 9 energy with this illumination. So where the 8 and the 4 can be more like focused energy and more sort of exclusive, so to speak, the 9 is pretty much entirely inclusive. The 9 energy is going to look for solutions to benefit the greater good, the we. And so while the 4 and the 8 are building towards a greater vision, the 9 is here to make sure that the focus of that building takes into consideration what is best for all, taking all sides into account and then coming up with a solution that makes the most sense to benefit the all without suppressing or oppressing others, right? So we are also in a 6th universal year. And so again, that which is greater than just ourselves, and we're moving from sort of the heart center, that will continue to be emphasized now, especially with this 9 energy. And again, the six universal year, we have all these energies sort of swirling about, helping us to see beyond our own needs and see how we can come to some sort of compromise, come to some sort of solution to work together. We have a lot of potent energies that are really pushing us to do that. Now, of course, we have free will. We are, sovereign beings, so we can make those decisions. But if the individual does it and if enough individuals do it, eventually we see the collective doing it. And so it all starts with us ultimately, right? So the potent 5 energy reminds us that nothing truly great can happen without a tremendous amount of change and a necessary amount of chaos. That's just the way it is, right? The world is full of polarities. The universe is full of polarities. That's how things get done, whether we like it or not. The 5 brings the change and the transformation and the drive to build in a way that promotes freedom and autonomy. Anything oppressive will eventually fall apart or be broken apart under 5 energy. The 4 says it will sort of take time, right? It's not something that's going to happen quickly. But the 5 is chomping at the bit to make things happen now. It wants freedom. Anytime I think of 5 energy, I picture like this group of wild stallion galloping through an open meadow. And the 4 is the gate, right? So it's kind of like, again, push-pull energy. We know where we want to get to. We know how we want to get there, but we need to be focused and controlled in those movements getting us there, right? Like there's a planning stage to this. If we just completely broke out of the gate and ran free, we would miss some of the details. And the details are going to be important here, especially as we're building something sustainable for the long haul, right? So again, we have very ambitious, focused, controlled, and heart-centered energies being met with this explosive, expansive, freedom-seeking energy of the 5. So again, push-pull is sort of an understatement here. And so again, it's about finding the balance so that we can incorporate all these energies, work with all these energies, and make them work for us and build something really, really great here. Like there's usually, or not even usually, there's never energies present to be worked with that aren't here to help us in some way, even if it feels uncomfortable, right? So overall, I expect this illumination to bring to light areas collectively and individually where there needs to be some restructuring, some more inclusivity, transformation, and independent freedom. And again, the 4 will force us to go slowly to make sure that we get it right. And if we try to move fast, if we try to just throw something together, that 13-4 will take it all apart. It's kind of like, when you're mastering something that takes time, when you're trying to build something that's great, it takes time. It's not something you can just throw together. And so it's kind of like working with a teacher who, when you don't do it right, will correct you. And again, it's the course corrections. And so that's the 4 energy. And so it's going to make sure that we get it right. It's going to take time. And so it's got to be for the highest good of not only ourselves, but of all involved. And so it's through this process that we will feel that push-pull. And we need to decide how we can participate individually in a way that not only feels good for us, but also takes others into consideration as well. Now, remember, we're not responsible for others, what they do, how they're feeling, any of that. That's not our responsibility. Our responsibility is with ourselves. But we are responsible for our actions because those actions bleed out into the collective, right? So things may absolutely come to a head now, be dismantled, and after the confusion clears, then the more we can come together to rebuild in a more sustainable way, then the better, right? So again, this is going to be a slow process. I really want to drive that home because sometimes it's easy to give up on something that we're not seeing the instant gratification from, and you will not get the results that way. So if it's something that speaks to your heart, if it's something that really calls to you, the persistence, the perseverance has to be there. The patience has to be there. You have to kind of commit for the long haul until you see the results. Again, if it speaks to you. So that's kind of where we're at collectively with this energy. Let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast for each individual life path number now. Life path 22-4. So you all are not only working with the energy that I spoke about in the intro for the collective, but you're also working with sort of undercurrent energy of the 3. Your reading is going to be or your forecast is going to be very similar sort of to the 4. So you could also listen to that. But basically what you all could see kind of coming through at this time is very much around creativity, around getting big projects off the ground, seeing the people that you need to be able to assist you in doing that surface at this time, like coming into your awareness, meeting people just out of the blue that have what you need to be able to do whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So again, you may meet people who could be a part of your experience for quite some time. So pay attention to who comes in for you. The other thing is, of course, to be willing to ask for assistance where you need it, and don't shy away from asking, even if you feel like there's no chance that this person or this establishment would help you. This is going to be an energy where, especially because we're working with the 8 energy collectively, it's very possible that you would get the green light. And so you just have to ask. If you don't ask, of course, it's a no. So you just need to ask and see where it takes you. And then if they do say yes, of course, be willing and open to receiving that assistance and releasing some of the control that you might need to release to be able to collaborate with this person or this entity or this establishment. So big visions could come in, big goals, big creative ideas, big opportunities to step into some big creative project could come in now. This can be a very, very, very social time. This can be an opportunity for, again, collaboration, networking, brainstorming, that sort of thing. That's a little outside of the comfort zone sometimes for 22s. And so, just try to go with it the best that you can. Again, I think we're all going to be feeling some push-pull energy under this illumination, but it's just, again, helping us to find our balance so that we can incorporate the things that we're uncomfortable with, that are meant to assist us and help us on our journey. And so that includes, again, this 3 energy, which again is very is very social. It's very much about collaboration, very much about working with others, and but also very, very creative. It's not as structured as 4 energy. It's not as structured as the 22-4 energy. So again, that can be a little bit uncomfortable. So just kind of keep that in mind as these big creative ideas might be coming in for you, or relationships or whatever. It doesn't, I'm kind of focusing on the more creative side of things, but it can very much be about relationships and getting yourself out there. If you're looking for love or whatever, getting yourself out there, mingling, putting your, whatever, and releasing the control of trying to find the perfect mate or whatever the case may be. A lot coming in around this under this illumination. I would also say, because you're also working with 4 energy, sort of undercurrent, which is your life path number. So this is, you probably won't notice this as much, and you're sort of used to this kind of energy. But there is something here around persistence and knowing that you will see a return of investment in relation to whatever effort you put forth, but it'll take time. So again, and I don't really feel like I need to tell this to 22s, because again, it's just something you're just already working with as part of your journey. But, whatever you start now, it'll take time, but it'll be worth it. So take your time, be persistent, keep going, the drill. The main areas I want you to kind of keep in mind is that this could be it could feel like a very social time. It could feel like a time where a lot of people want to work with you or reaching out and your inbox is full, or you're invited to a lot of parties, or whatever, right? I would say entertain all of it. This is going to be an illumination, a period. And I would say for about, a couple of weeks, right? We're not looking at the whole month here. This is just for this full moon illumination. So especially for the first few days, but for a couple of weeks. And entertain it. If you have to clear your calendar to be able to attend these events, do so, because you don't know who you're going to meet in that environment. And it may be a place that you wouldn't normally go, or it might be something, you might meet people you wouldn't normally meet, and they can be very pivotal to the next chapter of your journey, whether that's, again, a new relationship, a new friendship, or a new business partner, or someone to collaborate with. So the key here for you guys to take away is, if the opportunity comes up for you to be social, go for it. If the opportunity comes up for you to work on a collaborative project, go for it. Anything social, anything to do with communication, anything to do with like brainstorming, networking, or travel, or anything like that is very much supported at this time and can work in your favor. Okay. So I hope this was helpful, 22s. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.